Hey, my name is Gustav Beka, student ID number 1301213322. And here I'm now gonna explain the Golang code from our previous video of this week's lectures problem. And we're gonna cover the same problem as our previous video, which is problem number 6 until problem number 10. And you can read more about what is asked from the problem by pausing the video, but I'm gonna explain the code immediately after this. I'm not gonna read it this. So yeah, pretty basic start. And here I'm using variables. Each variable has a use, and for n it's for iteration. I'm gonna bring up the pseudocode that we learned from that we discussed from our video, from previous video. It's gonna be easier. Yeah, this is the variable that we're gonna use, and is for the input. For the input, and this is for the boolean of each equipment from each scout, and I here is 1. And yeah, I is used for iteration in the for condition here. It's pretty long, but basically it just checks whether the head is true, belt is true, and everything else is true, and if the iteration itself is still under n, which is the amount of people or the amount of scout boy, scout girl, scout man, scout woman. And yeah, after that it's basically just gonna scan or waiting for an input for the next scout, and then it increases in the iteration. Now you might see here, why is this command commented? It's because I've limited myself by using only iteration or loops, but it's not elegant enough. If you're writing a code, you need to write a code nicely, neatly, and easy to see. This is kind of like not a good code, basically. I mean, you could do this, right? But it's not a good code. Therefore, I'm using if else, which is basically the same thing, but it's much more elegant, right? Look at this. Than this whole thing. So yeah, and basically this checks whether all the scouts is ready or not, and then print out the results. The output is only the readiness of the whole squad of scouts. Yes, and we can do that. Go actually compile it, and we can just number 6.txt. Yes, all done. Okay. And then I can get code from this. Missing one. Yeah. Basically, this is checking for each scouts here. Yeah, this is supposed to be here. And the last one is the last scout, and this one is the output. That means everyone's ready. So yeah. And let's go to number 7. It's quite simple, the factor of the number, and it's gonna be output of the whole thing like this. It's basically checking each number from 1 until the end, the input number that the user has inputted, and it's gonna iterate one number each and check whether it is the factor of that number by dividing it using modulo. And I can just try it immediately. How about the time? Here we have all the output. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 is a factor of 15, 4 is not, 5 is yes, 6, 7 until 14 is not a factor of 15, and 15 itself is a factor of 15. And yeah, that's the simple thing. This is the simplest problem out of all of them, I think. And yeah, let's go to the next problem, which is number 8 about the baby head. You can read more if you pause the video. You can read it detail more, and we're just gonna jump. We're gonna discuss the code immediately as soon as possible. Yeah. We're using this. Okay. Keep in mind this sum is not sum as in the addition of all. I'm using sum here as just to save the first input. Here, we're only saving the initial input. This image is supposed to be the initial input, but let's just experiment in a video. Sum, based on the description here, is only saving the first input, right? Okay. And here is used for the divider later. We're gonna use it to divide it to count the average. And the n here is basically the n, the latest input. This is the latest input. And yeah, it's gonna check whether the initial input is the same, which is a bit confusing language-wise. So let me rephrase that. This is basically just comparing the current input and the previous input, whether it's the same or not. Okay, there we go. And then we're gonna change the latest input to the current input that we just inputted, and we're gonna ask for another input, the newer input. I said so many input. It sounds weird to me now. Anyway, and the n for iteration, the n is incrementing by 1 for each iteration of the for loop. And this is the formula to find out the average monthly growth of the baby's head. Yeah, we're using float here because n is used to be in, and we need to change that type, and we use -1 here because we don't count the latest input here. It's basically the input that said stop, so we don't need to include that in our number of n. So yeah, alright, we're running the problem number 8. Let's make it simpler, right? Let's use 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 15. Now from this you can already see, like, okay, the monthly growth is averaging. You can see it goes up by 1, and you can see it outputs 1, the average here. And we're not gonna do the cases here, the sample case, because it's too long and we don't have a lot of time. So yeah, let's just go into the next problem, which is problem number 9. Problem 9 is quite confusing. If you're just straight up looking at the code itself, you need some time to understand the code. It's basically comparing the two digits, neighboring digits, whether they are consecutive, it just differs by one number or not. And if not, it's gonna input false, it's gonna output false. And if the whole integer is equals only 1 from each digit, then it's gonna output true. First one is asking for an input. I'm using a prompt here, asking for input number, and then it's gonna send x. X here is gonna be the main integer that we're gonna process. Basically the whole number we're asking it first, and then we're gonna declare y as the modulo of x. Basically, we're working this problem from the back to forward. Modulo 10 is basically the digit on the last position, the last position, and z, we're using x integer revision. This is integer revision because x is integer. To eliminate the last one here, basically just to delete that, so we can use modulo on the next digit. And cons here is consecutive. It's checking whether y and z differs only one digit. If it's the same, that it's not exactly consecutive. So yeah. And the for loop itself has condition if the consecutive is true and the x is more than 0. That means if the whole integer is not empty yet, then it's gonna keep going. This is basically the same, actually the y here is the same. Why we're using x, why we're adding x here, just to update the x value after each iteration. That means we're erasing the last one after each iteration, and then erasing one more, and one more, and so on until it's empty, and then it stops because of this. And this is the consecutive boolean condition. After that, we're gonna print out whether it's consecutive or not. Let's try this. This is number 9 exe input number. Okay, you might think, oh, that seems to be consecutive. No, it's not. It's missing number 5, and it's false because it's missing 5. The 876 is consecutive. 1 to 2 is consecutive, but 4 and 6, no, not consecutive. So it's gonna output false. So yeah, that's number 9. Now we've gone to number 10. Let's see here as well. Fibonacci. Yep. You can read more about it here, or you can read about Fibonacci in general if you Google it or something. I'm just gonna explain the code itself right now, and we're using this variable. F0, F1 is Fibonacci 0 and Fibonacci 1. And it's declared here, and n is also declared here. This n is gonna be used similar to this formula here. Formula of Fibonacci sequence and iteration. We're gonna use this, and then you might want to know why sorry about that. You might want to know why we actually know. Yes. Yeah, this is n. It's gonna iterate as much as n wants, and I'm gonna explain this. I think I've already explained it on number 6, I believe. Yeah, basically the same reason. It's more elegant to use if here with else, rather that it's only if here. And yeah, it's basically this is just printing if n is 0 because Fibonacci 0 is already defined. It's just gonna output 0, 1 as well, similar to 1. And if it's not 0 or 1, the iteration goes on to the next one. Then it's gonna do this operation. Basically, the rest is adding everything, right? It's becoming rest n or fifth n in this case, right? This is fifth n minus 1, this is fifth n minus 2. And it's gonna update the f0 to f1, f1 to f2. This is rest. Suppose it's n is 2, rest is gonna be f2. So, and then output the rest, or the latest fn. So yeah, we're gonna run the program here. Let's move forward, right? fn or f Fibonacci 4 is 3. This is the sequence. So yeah, I think that's all, right? So I hope you can understand everything that I've explained so far. Yeah, thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a nice day. Bye.